Hello everybody, welcome to RIBA Future Architects, how to prepare for your first job in practice, and welcome to my colleague Rupesh Vara. Over to you, Rupesh.
Thank you, Kate. Good afternoon to you all. It's great to be here presenting this to yourselves. My name is Rupesh and I run the job board here at RIBA Jobs. It's been a really difficult kind of 5 to 6 months at the moment. We've seen a lot of contraction within our market due to COVID-19. And I'm sure that all of you are finding it so difficult to kind of really nail down what you guys are going to be doing next. There have been redundancies, there have been not being able to get jobs, and I know how difficult it's been. And I want to ensure that although we don't make promises, we can have all the tools ready for preparation for your first job into practice. So I'm going to be running through what it takes to clinch your first job. So we'll move on to a very good friend and colleague of mine. He's a director of Place Architects, Mark Kemp, based in Cornwall. So when I presented the question to him, I'd asked him, what is it that practices are looking for in a part one? So in his own opinion, he wants to see evidence of growth and motivation between projects. So he wants to know what different questions are presented in year 3 work that are not found in year 1 projects. And the key areas for him is listening skills, comprehension, which is more valuable than detailed knowledge of building regs, and planning law. Those are just some of the things that you can expect to come up against if you decide that you want to work with Mark at Place Architects in Cornwall. I'm going to move over to someone that was very well respected equally in our industry, and goes by the name of Karen Mosley. She's the managing director at HLM Architects based out in Sheffield. And when we approached Karen, it was more about understanding in her view, what's important to her and her business. So as they employ new students each year, they want to see added enthusiasm. They really want to see the love of the job, the passion, and the valued input of really, being an architecture student. So those are some of the things that Karen will be expecting from you if you decide to join HLM. Another lady that we know very well at the RIBA is Director of Practice of Scott Brownrigg, Helen Taylor. When we approached Helen, some of the areas that Helen spoke about was when we look for graduate roles, we look for ambitious part ones. So those who are kind of determined, inquisitive, so ask a lot of questions, are very well prepared, but also have a great passion for design, because Scott Brownrigg is a design practice. So those are some of the things that Helen Taylor would throw at you if you were to have an interview with Scott Brownrigg. Now, as we move on further into this presentation, I want to know if you guys know what you are looking for in a practice. So when it comes to locality, do you actually know whether you're looking to work in a town or city? Are you looking to work in a specific sector, such as residential, commercial, or mixed? Do you actually have an idea of the kind of scale of practice that you want to work with, such as 5 to 10, I don't know, 10 to 15, or some of the larger practices, which has 15, 20? What kind of values and design flair would you bring to this interview is a very, very key component. So do think about those 4 quality points that we discussed. And this snapshot I've taken from a well-respected architect, David Miller Architects, based in London. So I guess one of the other things that are going to be really important when it comes to job seeking is what your general approach to this would be. As a fellow student myself, I didn't study architecture, but I think this is kind of more of a general input. Is more around, if you go unprepared to an interview, your chances of getting the job are very limited. So ensure that you work on these 7 key components. Research the market, contact the practices directly. Don't go through recruitment consultants at this point in time. It's very important for you to understand that in order for you to progress, you need to understand the code of conduct. And if you go through practices directly, you'll be able to establish that. Use your network for contacts. So where you get time during the day, during the evening, build up a network of companies you can see yourself working for. Search job sites. Come onto RIBA Jobs, architecture.com/jobs. Have a look to see if we've got any Part 1 vacancies. That would be your first point of call. Agencies will probably be your last point of call, but it wouldn't be harmful for you to upload your CV just to see the kind of practices that they represent in the market. But your first priority should be RIBA Jobs. How can RIBA Jobs kind of help you to find the right job? So in terms of our platform and our kind of value proposition, there's been over 1,000 jobs posted last year, and those equate to around Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3 positions. We are working on apprenticeships and we are working with practices directly on this, but this is not something that we're looking to cover off immediately. It's kind of work in progress. Another reason for how we can help you is over half the jobs are with RIBA chartered practices, which sign up to high professional standards for ethics, equality, diversity, inclusion and fair pay. We work with prestigious packages such as Foster's and Partners, DRMMM, Mole Architects and Chetwoods, just to name a few. But these are kind of the things that you should expect from us, and some of the kind of areas that you should be looking to kind of get more involved in going forward. So what are the key components to help you kind of reach your job alert? So how do you know when a job comes onto the job board that matches your specification? It's very simple. All we need to do is go to RIBA Jobs or jobs.architecture.com, sign in and create yourself an account. And then once you've created yourself an account, you'll have another box that comes up that says create a job alert. So in this area, it's going to ask you what type of job you're looking for, and you can add up to 5 alerts here. So it'll probably be Part 1, architectural assistant, or some of you Part 2. So once you've signed up to those 3, you're then in a great position. That position is every time a job is added, you'll be notified before anyone else, giving you some great competitive advantage over other job seekers. So as we create that job alert, you found a job that you like, it's popped up on your screen, you go in and you found them directly in front of you, Part 1 architectural assistant or RIBA Part 1. What you would then need to do is either type Part 1 or architectural assistant. If you click the blue or the job itself, it'll bring up a full product description or a job advert description of what it is that architectural practice is looking for. You then have the option, obviously, to then apply. So I guess second phase of this is once you've applied and you've got your foot through the door, is there a chance for you to kind of really stand out? The answer to that is yes. You should be kind of looking at ways to create a great CV that not just showcases your ability within the projects that you've kind of undertaken at university, but also being able to match your profile to the job role. So look at the tasks that you'll be expected to undertake as a Part 1 and customize your CV kind of for the practice. I've taken a really good industry leader in this and a director of JDDK Architects who's based up in Newcastle, Nikki Watson. Some of the stuff that she looks for in a CV, some of the soft skills, is a positive attitude throughout the whole resume. So what she really wants to see is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence generally is very highly sought after. So if a company, a director or an interviewer is able to analyze your personality and explain how all these things will bring benefits to the role, not only does it show your maturity, but it also gives the employer an idea of how you will fit in within that particular company going forward. Another area that you should really kind of focus on and keep simple is the presentation. So whatever you decide that you want to deliver it with elegance, make it readable, and try to keep graphics to a minimum. Ideally, when you're doing these kind of presentations and you're putting your portfolio out there and you're kind of discussing the projects that you've undertaken or some of your designs, keep it to a maximum of 2 pages. Check your grammar and spelling. It's very important to check through that and get someone else to proofread it for you, so you ensure that you're in the best possible position. When you're compiling your portfolio, it's really, really, really important to include tips. And those tips are talking about the timeline of key experience. So at the beginning of your portfolio, talk about a fact sheet on each project sheet to highlight key information, such as a great image here or a great design. So talk about the location, talk about the client, the budget, whether it came within budget or if it was delivered over budget, the reasons for that, and the RIBA stages throughout that. That really kind of puts you in a different kind of light compared to everybody else. Graphic symbols. So graphics kind of indicate use of creativity, and we can use bars, dials, charts, obviously depending on the competency of your skill set, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced. I can leave that to your kind of to your own perusal, whatever you guys feel that you want to put in there. Definitely put in there. Another area is visual style. So you should be simple and elegant and use supporting images. Don't go OTT with the visual style. Don't put too much stuff in it, whereas it kind of overshadows the actual work that you've done. Keep it very simple and ensure that the portfolio is telling a story, and it's a brief story of each project with compelling images that connects your passions and your design flair with the profile of the practice. That's really, really important. And when you aim to close that portfolio off, really think about the finish with images from extracurricular interests. Like some of our architects like pottery, or some of them like to draw. Some of them have a great interest in photography. That really shows you you from a different light, shows your kind of skill set, but it shows you're quite articulate and kind of sets you apart from your other competitors when it comes to applying for the job. The second phase in this is putting all those together and putting all those keynotes together. How do I then prepare for the interview? So what's really good is Anne Parker, who's a director of intervention architects in Birmingham, has helped kind of put together some favourite opening questions of why this practice. It's the magic question. It's a question that you should all be prepared for. And if you don't know this, you probably don't have chances of actually selling yourself and winning that job. So it's really important to really understand why you want to work for this practice, and you probably will be asked by a really good HR manager or director of practice, or why do you want to work for us? So the key things to think about here is practices are seeking candidates who are interested in their work. So giving examples of latest news or latest blogs, the latest projects they've completed, the area of expertise, whether they'd be a good fit and why. So have a look at the organisation, have a look at where that organisation sits. You could prepare through lots of research online and in person. At the end of the day, content is king, but as long as you can deliver it with a passion, with interest, and that interviewer knows that you've done your research and you really want to work for them, you've got a very, very good chance of winning and getting a position with that particular practice. Really, really good and important feedback that I can give you on questioning is be prepared for competency-based questions. Now we all think, oh, it's going to be easy. I can do it on a wing and prayer, or I've done this before. Oh, it's going to be very easy and straightforward. Don't make assumptions. Be ready for competency-based questions. So Helen Taylor from Scott Brownrigg has said very clearly, we applied competency-based questions to assess the candidates against a range of criteria, including communication skills, understanding of the design process, and self-management. So what competency-based questions do is it tests you for skills such as teamwork, listening, resilience, overcoming challenges, focus on the organisation, and always will start with a who, what, and why process. Give me an example, or tell me when you achieved this within the time frame, or tell me how long it took you to achieve budget. or give me an example of. These are less technical and more about the kind of person you are. And I guess what they're trying to understand here is whether you would fit into their business. So really important to look at competency-based questioning, and Google will be your king for this research. Just covering it off in more detail, preparing for competency-based questions. So there are skills that you'll need to do the job, most often around design skills, checking how you are defined in the job description or an advert for a position. Point number 2 would be for you in an interview, you'll be asked to give examples of when you have used these skills. You would also need to think ahead and prepare answers as you have not previously worked in practice. So kind of use examples of your organizational or presentational ability, for instance, at uni or at home. That will kind of make you stand out. And for those who are kind of looking for or considering a level 7 apprenticeship, I want to take you through a little bit more about that. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just something that you could, for those who are kind of looking or heading towards that. I know one company that believes a lot in apprenticeships is Scott Brownrigg, based in London. So let's just move on swiftly and kind of talk about what Shannon Walker from GSS Architects thinks about apprenticeships, because she was an apprenticeship at GSS Architects. So let me just quote what she said. Apprenticeships offer benefits to both the apprentice and the practice. I am able to get invaluable experience in a professional environment whilst progressing my academic qualifications. Equally, practices can maintain continuity in personnel and have an influence in shaping the future of the profession. Now, I know that apprenticeships might not be for everyone, but it's not something that we should rule out. So do consider this as a route for further progression if you're interested in kind of taking on a part 2. So we're going to move over to RIBA, PEDR, so tracking your practical experience. This will probably be more relevant as you start to go out and practice. So this is an area that we have on RIBA at architecture.com, where you can get in touch with the relevant people to help you kind of log this. It's an online system for students as well to log your practical experience. And if you want more information about that, I would be happy to send it to you, or you can go to architecture.com/PEDR. During your kind of year out and onwards, you should be tracking your practical experience as information from the RIBA PDR Professional Experience Development portal. The portal is being updated and has been updated successfully in April 2020. So you can start to kind of use this as you move forward and as you start to get new roles into practice. It's been a pleasure speaking with you all. And I really do hope that that your journey as you kind of move into architecture really helps you kind of streamline what it is you're looking for, B, whether it's the practice you want to work for, and number 3, what we can kind of help do to ensure that you have all the tools in order to get the best job for you. I'd like to thank you all for your time, and I wish you the very best and good luck in all your new careers. And please feel free to drop me an email, or should you wish to give me a call, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have for me. All the best. Take care. Bye for now.